If I had any doubt that I was right about the change that's happened in the left, watching people protest for a terrorist organization like Hamas, that straightened me up pretty quick. Don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. Please clap.
Bill Maher thinks the left has become completely absurd. He believes young progressives no longer can tell the difference between right and wrong. The conflict in Gaza has convinced him that he knows what's right. But of course he doesn't. He's just willing to lie very confidently. Let's hear from Bill himself.
Live in Gaza for a day, and I'm not talking about while the war is on. I mean before the war. Trust me, you would go running and screaming and begging to live in Tel Aviv, a place that has your values. All right, so Hamas needs to be destroyed because they are a terrorist organization who say openly that they want to commit genocide on the Jewish people, on the state of Israel. That's what from the river to the sea means, okay? And they say it very openly.
That's right. The alleged comedian who's been a crusader against cancel culture for the last decade is triggered by From the River to the Sea. And he wants us to think he's some brilliant, nuanced man who can decode the secret violence in this language, and that he's the only liberal on the left discerning enough to not inadvertently support the bad guys.
You don't realize that college campuses erupted with the kids demonstrating for Hamas? They are in with the terrorists?
They were for the Palestinians.
Well, it's sort of the same cause. Why, are you?
I'm on the side of the kids.
Yeah, that's easy to say. You know, no one wants to see kids dead. This is a war.
That was very brave of you to say that.
This is a war. No, I'm the one who's actually brave on this.
So what stopped him from condemning Israel's escalation in Gaza? He's been completely quiet as Netanyahu is openly calling for total control of Gaza and has been starving the population for months. High-ranking politicians and citizen activists openly label children as enemies.
They are our enemies because they are
The children are your enemies?
They are our enemies.
כל ילד, כל תינוק בעזה הוא אויב. האויב הוא לא חמאס. כל ילד בעזה הוא האויב.
So, if Bill really does like telling the truth, he wouldn't really have to bother with deciphering too much meaning. He would just have to not be openly biased, which, as I'm going to show you, is very hard for Bill. That's asking too much. Because no matter what happens, Bill will always continue to think he's taking the moral high ground by fixating on destroying Hamas at all costs.
They could have chosen to turn that place into any place they wanted to, and they took a lot of money that they took from the international community and they spent it on bombs and guns and building tunnels.
Wow, this is aged incredibly. You would swear he's talking about the IDF. Israel has been condemned jointly by UK, France, and Canada. Meanwhile, Hamas and the United States have gone behind Israel's back 3 times to negotiate diplomatically. So tell us, Bill, which terror organization really wants this crisis to continue?
Are you at all concerned about the innocent civilians that have been collectively punished and murdered, largely children and women? And are you at all concerned about the fact that the International Criminal Court just today issued a subpoena for Bibi Netanyahu?
Well, that's ridiculous, but it's a war.
Why?
It's a war because it's a war.
Is repeating it's a war ever a valid way to justify collective punishment? You can probably guess that there are humanitarian laws that prohibit punishing innocent civilians because of the actions of a few. And unless Bill is really stupid, you know, as stupid as that average American he resents so much.
But I would never put anything past this stupid country.
So people are already complaining that you're calling the United States a stupid country and giving you a chance to clarify.
I don't need to clarify. It is.
Why is he unwilling to understand why a population living under illegal occupation might support Hamas? And by the way, they don't support Hamas, at least not overwhelmingly, like how Bill would have you think. In fact, Gazan support for Hamas has been traditionally far below support for Trump in America. So I wonder how Bill would like being collectively punished for someone's vote for Trump. And what's so ridiculous about the ICC ruling? There's a reason war crimes exist. Does Bill Maher really not understand that you can't justify destroying and displacing an entire population of people just by saying it's a war? Is he really stupid or a secret fascist? Well, I have theories. Did you know he did a propaganda interview with Netanyahu?
Kanye West this week has said, I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. Will Israel retaliate? A few quotes from American congressmen, Congress people, rather, just to show that Kanye West's comment is not really out of order with some things that are said by people in more official positions. Here's one. Israel has hypnotized the world. May Allah awaken the people and help them see the evil doings of Israel. 10 years ago, if you read that to me, I thought that would be from Hezbollah. That's an American congressperson. Another American congressperson says the reality of Israel's apartheid government, goes on to say the occupation and ethnic cleansing Palestinians live with every day. Another one says Israel targets media sources so the world can't see Palestinians being massacred.
It's almost inspiring how well Bill can take responsible and coherent viewpoints and make them sound completely irrational with that little thing he does with the raising of eyebrows and scoffing. You know, he's really a natural spokesman for Israel. He was years ahead of the curve with this conflating of anti-Semitism with anti-Zionism. He's shamelessly comparing a sitting congresswoman, who, by the way, is on the same side as him, supposedly, with Kanye West. But right now, this high-level propaganda is too sophisticated for the campaign. You can't really scoff away government officials openly calling for the cleansing of Gaza.
Smotrich is Israel's finance minister. He is a far-right ultra-nationalist, a key member of the coalition government whose support the prime minister depends on to stay in power. And when the Israelis announced that for the first time in almost 3 months, they would stop blocking all food and humanitarian aid from entering Gaza and allow a limited number of truckloads in to feed the starving, Smotrich provided the reality check.
נדרש שיגיע לאוכלוסייה, פשוט כדי שהעולם לא יעצור אותנו ויאשים אותנו בפשעי מלחמה.
Politicians like Smotrich believe that historical Palestine belongs to the Jewish people and the Jewish people only, that they can increase their popularity if they are seen as being tough and frankly quite cruel against Palestinians.
Or blatant examples of apartheid like the one in this clip.
Yes. What's happening? That one? But I know that I'm allowed to be here until here.
Say, you are not allowed.
Why can't he be with us?
Because there are limits for Palestinians, so he can't. If he lives here, he can reach. Here, no.
But still, in the proper Western media tradition of pretending to be unbiased, Bill performatively attempted objectivity during the interview.
But could you become an apartheid state? The critics of Israel here in America and some in your own country talk about the fact that Israel is kind of a population time bomb, and that if 51% of Israel would become Arab, because you do have Arab citizens who are actually treated better in Israel with more rights and more freedoms than they are in their own and other Arab countries.
He couldn't even complete this question without dropping a talking point. You know, he sets up Netanyahu, but he doesn't really set him up. He gives this confusing, long-winded answer because I don't think he was expecting Bill to be that much of a kiss-ass.
Because I think they don't have the facts right. I mean, about 20% of Israel's population is Arabs, and they're really the only Arabs in the Middle East who enjoy full and equal civic rights in the Israeli democracy. And I've also made it an effort to incorporate them in the tremendous success story that is Israel. And I'm happy to see that that is happening. But the demographic balance is maintained. The most important thing is the democratic balance is maintained, because everyone has a right to be part of the Israeli democracy and the Israeli success story. I don't think that's a real issue. I think it's a bogus charge.
You know, he ends up saying something about he's promising to keep the demographic in control. It's like Bill almost gets a more honest answer because he makes Netanyahu so comfortable. This has to be one of the most buddy-buddy Netanyahu interviews I've ever seen. A year later, Bill himself would basically copy Netanyahu word for word when justifying the occupation.
Women have no, I mean, this is a show watched by a lot of women. Women have no rights in this place and a lot of majority Muslim countries.
So why are Bill's views so perfectly aligned with a right-wing extremist politician? It's because he's been a fan of Netanyahu for decades.
And I always liked him, but this is up, you know, it's like some.
Why did you like him?
Why did I like him?
Yeah.
Because I thought although he was maligned a lot, I thought when you live in Israel, you understand it is they throw around that word existential a lot in this country now. Somebody up when they taught a lot of people that word because they
What does it mean?
Use it for it means there is a threat to your very existence.
Right.
Israel lives in an existential state. We do not. And so I wasn't unhappy about having a president of Israel who was on the security, you know, conservative, I'm a badass, but I will keep the shit to shoe level kind of guy.
Can you even believe that Bill is allowed to get away with this and still call himself a liberal? Is he really unaware that Bibi funded Hamas for years to delay a lasting peace? If he cared about security at all, he would know that the extreme settler Zionism Netanyahu enables has completely destabilized Israeli life. But he is unapologetic in his extremism. He makes it obvious that this whole liberal worldview is just a facade. If faced with a crisis, Bill thinks it's perfectly fine to disparage your enemies, lie on their name, and seek total destruction of their population. And let's be 100% clear. The crisis is existential, but not for the Israelis, for the Palestinians. The Israelis could support peace. They could support a two-state solution. They could allow food into Gaza. They could do many, many things. It's the Palestinians who can't do anything right now. And Bill knows this. He knows that this has been going on for a long time. So for him as a foreigner to support Bibi for decades and supposedly be a leftist, it's just jarring. Why do people, why do people on the left even listen to such a deranged man? Back in that View interview, when Bill started his anti-left shtick, the audience had no idea what he was even talking about.
But don't tell me that the left hasn't changed. I mean, I'm old enough to remember when it was the conservatives who hated the Jews.
Yeah.
Okay. That was a joke. But,
Too dark, too dark.
Yeah, it is a joke, Bill. Everything that Bill says on this topic is a joke. And just like always, the audience is left confused and forced to clap for this terrible, washed-up comedian.